Sure, sure. So, Rishi, I'll just start with what unconscious bias is, right? Most of the time, we're just unfortunately stereotyping people and we're forming an opinion and not realizing it. Most of the time, it's so natural because our brain is wired in such a way that we are instinctively categorizing these people and making these assumptions. You were talking about returning women. I mean, immediately, though the world is, evolving and we are seeing a lot of change, but we do it without thinking, and we feel that this person, coming back after, whatever, it could be an education break, it could be a maternity break, it could be a sabbatical because that person just wanted a year break. But the unconscious bias, and it's mixed with a genuine concern that, okay, how is this person going to manage after a break? So a lot of times the stress to close positions or the pressure to ensure that for talent acquisition we need to step into something very soon, I think creates that bias to close something and try to find out people who are more like me, or okay, maybe the experience may not be the same, and let's try and interview better. So cutting that out and having a more, like you said, inclusive approach, right? Interviewing the person for the skills and not for the personality that the person is wanting that you want on the table. So a lot of times I have seen talent acquisition leaders or the hiring managers saying, oh, the person is just like me and I would want a similar person, not this person. So we are moving away from what actually the JD is, unconsciously, right? What the JD calls for the job, and not bringing in actually what is required in terms of skills. So I'll give you a very personal example. I think you were talking about boomeranging, and I'm somebody, who you can categorize as a returning woman. So I did, like I came back from Japan, I was not working there. So when I came back, I was looking out. So there were people who wanted to actually interview, and the interview discussion was purely based on skills and my past experience and how I could create an impact for the particular job that I was interviewing for. But there were also these personal questions that didn't make any meaning, because ultimately if a lady is coming for an interview or a guy is coming for an interview, there are 1,000 battles that the person has already fought with himself or herself in the mind, prepared the resume, which is another, I think it takes a lot of strength to do that, and then accept and apply for a job and then come. So there are so many steps that the person has already taken forward that they don't need to come and explain in the interview on how their child is going to be taken care of, or how their in-laws, if they're senior citizens, need to be taken care of. So I think this unconscious bias, unfortunately, is because people, we're all into talent acquisition. We all know that we should not do it, and we should consciously, but it comes so naturally. I have a friend who's done a PhD where she submitted a paper where she said we form an opinion in 3 seconds. In 3 seconds. So it comes so naturally in our interviews also, right? In the beginning of the interview, we're liking the person and we will drift questions towards taking the person on, and at the end of the interview we've not really assessed that person because we're so talking about so many other topics than actually assessing. So I think the primary reason is we need to ensure that we know what we want, right? We keep our bias out, and we have assessment sheets written. So when we write the assessment sheet after an interview, we know what we want and whether there's a gap as to the person, what he brings to the table. So I think that, keeping that aside, we have done a lot of returnship programs in terms of hiring for our clients where they specifically wanted men. They said, okay, we've done a lot of programs for women. We want men or diversity in the true form, whether LGBT, whether, physically challenged, special folks. So the world right now wants more diverse, because ultimately an organization is able to grow when the population is not the like me in the bias, but actually it is more diverse, and we're actually including a lot of other people also in the organization. So I just hope that this explains that we should keep bias completely out and actually assess on skills.